Good evening, everyone, and welcome.
Open discussion.
Before we do anything, let's salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing, and let's have a moment of silence for our friends in Israel who passed away and the terror attack that was just horrible. And let's pray that somehow, some way, there'll be some peace in this world. Thank you very much. Tonight we decided to have an information session for the public. If you have questions, write them on an index card, and Gary and Mark will go around and pick them up and read the questions. All right? The reason we're doing this is I know there's been a lot of confusion out there about the debate tonight. We've already scheduled our time to do that, and we figured it'd be a good idea to go put out information about our two candidates, Nadine and Lisa. So, unfortunately, things come up. But as a council member, or a member of the council, if you miss a meeting, you have to trust in your other council people and the mayor to show up. Town business cannot stop. You know, there was a few council meetings that I missed over the years. I know, Mike, you took over as council president. Bobby, I think you did. So, you know, town business is town business. And you have to do town business. And if one person can't do it, another one steps up. So, you know, even if you notice 7:30 our council meetings start, if a council person's late, I start that meeting without him. You know, it's important to start meetings and town business on time on that date. So I think we could start, and I know Nadine and Lisa, you have a few things to say first, and you know, and then we can go into questions.
I would also like to reiterate thank you to everybody for coming tonight. Thank you for everybody for finding us tonight. It's been quite the day. I would like to take a minute to offer my best wishes for a speedy recovery to John Keane. I also recently had COVID back early September, so I know the full implications of the medical issues surrounding that. I also know what it's like to have to miss a meeting because of that, because I did miss the council meeting. I did have some reports that I had to give, so I relied on my team member. We always work in teams on our committees to give them. So like the mayor said, business of the borough must go on, and we must continue. So a little bit about me. I've been on Borough Council since 2018. I've been a resident of town since 1996. I raised my 3 children here, and now my grandson, who's actually with us tonight. And we are very blessed to live in this community. People ask me, what is it that you do on Borough Council? What does a council member do? Well, we work on committees. We work on committees to manage the business of the borough. So really anything that has to go on in the borough goes through a committee, and we work on those. Currently this year, I am on 9 committees, even though at one point in my tenure, I've been on all of the committees, and I've actually been Borough Council President in 2022. This year, I'm fortunate to work on the Capital Review Committee, the Public Safety Committee, Community Activities, Personnel, Shared Services. Then I also work with citizen advisory committees like the Diversity Committee. Thank you, Sunil, for being here. I co-founded the Mental Health Advocacy and Education Committee with Lisa. I work on the Municipal Alliance, and then externally I work with the Board of Health as a liaison to them. On my side time of doing all that, I work with an outside volunteer group called LINK, which is Linking Initiative for Neighborhood Change, which is our resource pantry that we have here in New Providence. You wouldn't think that we would need a resource pantry here in New Providence, but we have many residents who are in need of different things. We have monthly food distributions, we distribute sanitary supplies, cleaning supplies, housewares, etc. That was started by 2 of our high school students last year, and I applaud them for their efforts, and I'm on their board. So why am I doing this, and why do I enjoy being on council? Well, I tell everybody I do it for families. I do it for my family, I do it for your family, and mainly I do it to keep our town moving forward. We live in an amazing place, and I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very honored to be on council. So one last thing before I pass it over to Lisa. One thing that our council has a common thread on, we always ask one question. Is what we're doing best for New Providence in the short term and in the long term? So every decision we make, we think about our residents and our town. Is what we are doing best for the town? And I can honestly say we all consider that before we make any decisions. So I'm going to pass it over to Lisa. Lisa has worked with me on council since 2021, and I'll let her go from there.
Thank you, Nadine. Thanks everybody for being here, and like Nadine said, thanks for finding us. So we will jump right in. So before I get into a little bit of my background of council and this town, just a little bit about what I do when I'm not on council or raising my family. I am a wealth advisor and financial planner. I work at PPAC Private Wealth. I work with high net worth individuals, help them to figure out their life goals, their financial goals. I help them invest their portfolios so that they know what is coming up ahead of them. A lot of that correlates right to borough business, right? There's a lot of long-term planning that goes into it. There's a lot of taking a look at the numbers and seeing if you're headed in the right direction. So that's a nice correlation there. But Jack and I, my husband, who's going to be here any minute now, we've been here 30 years. We raised our 3 children here. Very busy, like I'm looking around, all of us very busy with our kids, involved in a million different sports, extracurricular activities, whether it be PAL or rec. And what we realized early on was that all of these activities took volunteers, right? So we jumped right in, like all of our other friends. We jumped in, we coached, we taught CCD, we were involved with PTA, we baked cupcakes, we went on class trips. And very early on, I realized that this borough is really amazing. The people in this town have like humongous hearts, and they think nothing of jumping in, giving back, lending a hand, and they're basically the lifeblood of this community. So Jack and I also jumped in. We really took an active part in sports and all of those different activities. But from there, I segued into the Community Service Association. That is a nonprofit that's right here in town. It's been around for 70 years. So yeah, you heard that right, 70. I've been on that organization for 15 years, all of it in some capacity of leadership, treasurer, president, and now board member. The CSA provides financial assistance to our residents in New Providence that need it. We also work with Link, providing financial resources so that they can stock their pantries, and we can stock the school pantries as well. On Borough Council, I am involved with several committees. Right now, I am chair of the Finance Committee, where I do financial analysis, provide advice, oversight, make sure that we're maintaining the financial stability that we all love, and also maintaining our ability to have our AAA bond rating. That is a AAA bond rating through all 3 rating agencies. Besides finance, I am on the administration committee, mental health, advocacy, and education with Nadine, board of education, beautification. Like you could just kind of go on and on, but one of the more important ones that I really love too is the library board. That one kind of sits close to my heart. But all the council members, we really are on all these different committees. We work really hard, we give back 100%, and we work as a team. So so if I'm on the Board of Ed with Pete, and he can't make the meeting, I'm definitely there. Or if I can't make it, he's there. Most of the time, we're both there, even though we don't need to be, but we're both very interested, and we don't like to miss those meetings. So that's why, I'm on Borough Council. I'm on Borough Council because I see it as an extension of all the volunteering that we do in town. When I first decided to run for council, someone said to me, or a lot of people said to me, why are you doing this? You're not really a political person. But I didn't view the Borough Council as a political place. I viewed it more as an extension of this volunteering and giving back to this community like we've been doing all along, right? Making sure that everything is in tip-top shape, making sure that our borough is safe, that it's financially sound, that it's a beautiful town, right, that our downtown is vibrant. These are all the reasons why we sit on council and why we work so hard. So yeah, when I got that on council, I realized that I was right. It's not about politics, it's about New Providence. And so we've been plugging along ever since. Nadine and I have been busy knocking on doors, talking to residents, and finding out what's important to them. We realized that when we're talking to people, we find out that they're either born and bred here, or like been here their whole lives, or maybe they've just moved here. But the common denominator is that they're all here and they all stayed and they all picked this community. And the reason for that is the quality of life here. Everyone that we talk to cannot say anything less than that this is a vibrant, beautiful community and the quality of life is number one. What makes up that quality of life? So we have a top-notch public safety. We have a strong police department. Our financial soundness and viability. We have a vibrant downtown. It's walkable. We've got a ton of restaurants, shops, anything that you could think about. Our community programming, we have rec programs, we have activities, we have events, we have fireworks, we have summer concerts. These are all things that our community loves, and we bring them all out and kind of have that unity of New Providence. Nadine is going to talk a little bit more about the public safety aspect. So these were things that when we spoke to residents were important to them. The two things that we found to be the most important things were public safety and taxes. So we're going to just dive a little bit deeper into those two subjects before we take your questions.
Okay, so public safety. Yeah, the topics we're talking about tonight, when we were walking around talking to people, these are things that we discussed. And also why we felt it was very important to be here tonight. So I will jump on public safety. So I'm on the Public Safety Committee. As many of you know, public safety is our #1 priority. It's one of our largest budget items on the municipal budget, and it's something that we always take into consideration with everything we do. Our police department has been accredited 6 times, 6 consecutive times, by the Association of Chiefs of Police, which is a very impressive thing. Our police have a very close relationship with everybody in our community. They don't just drive around and police, but they work with a lot of groups. They work with our schools. They do the LEAD program, which many of you formerly know as the DARE program. So they're working with students. They are working in our schools as a school resource officer, so you can probably find them helping out as a school mascot, doing everything there as well. They do various outreach programs. We have a community service officer who works with the diversity committee. They also work with the Municipal Alliance. They have a group called Police and Community Together, which is an amazing organization where they do different tables. I know the day that we had the Green Fair, they had a table in the back where they did pill take-backs. They also handed out gun safety literature and gun walks at that event as well. They do a program called Operation Blue Angel, which is for our senior citizens, where they provide a lockbox that goes onto the house. So God forbid a resident needs a well check. They can just get, they have access to get into the home. We have a new program that started this year called Arrive, which is an outstanding program with the rest of Union County. And this is related to mental health issues that may arise with some of our residents. So we send the Arrive officer there first, and they work with the resident to help get them the help that they need. That has caused significant time savings for the police department and has helped many residents as well. So that's a county venture where they take turns going into different towns, and our police are involved with that as well. Also this year, I'm sorry, one more thing, they do so much, there's something called Safe Places. So I don't know if you've noticed downtown, there are stickers in the windows that say Safe Places. This is a new program that we entered into this year, where if a person does not feel safe, they can go into these stores, and the store owner is trained to help them until the police can arrive. From a traffic perspective, because something people always ask us about as well is traffic, they came up with the traffic master plan. That is a 5-year plan that they put together, and how they devised it was they broke the town down into 4 quadrants and had listening sessions. So then that way people had their input on, my street's dangerous because of this, or there's a blind spot there. So the police put together a whole 5-year plan of how they were going to tackle all those issues one at a time. We are going to be reevaluating that every year, and it's a dynamic plan, so as the needs of the borough arise or change, they can change that master plan. Something else that came out of that are pedestrian and auto safety measures. Those are done in 2 ways. They are engineering and education. So engineering traffic safety measures are like the flashing beacons. So when you drive down South Street, crosswalks is a very important thing. Somebody pushes a button, the flashing beacons come on, the pedestrian crosses safely. They also have the orange flags that they can use going on across the street as well. We've done some traffic calming measures, so around painting on Springfield Avenue with the parking spaces there, and then over on Fairview Avenue they put an island that's supposed to help alleviate the traffic. We've added pedestrian ballards, safety, or chevrons, so there's a lot of ways that they help our community. They're always up on the latest technology related to the laws and the different services that they can provide, and they do an amazing job. So I can go on and on about public safety, but those are really the key points that we just wanted to bring out. So Lisa, now we'll talk about the other topic everybody wants to know about, and that is taxes.
So exciting, right? Taxes.
I got the better
Fun
one.
subject. But in all seriousness, when Nadine and I are talking to residents, that is one of the top topics that comes up. People want to know why our taxes are so high and how come we can't get them lowered a little bit, or how come they just keep going up every year. So before I go into that specific, just want to clarify that your total tax bill is really split into a couple different sections, okay? So if we look at it as a pie, there's a couple different slices. And what we're looking at is the biggest chunk of that pie is going to the Board of Education. So 57% of your taxes, your tax dollars, are going to the Board of Ed. 20% or so, about 20.5% are going to Union County. We have small little slivers in there of about 1.5% that are going for open space here and in the county. And then we have our portion that stays here in the borough, and that's about 20.5%. So of your total tax bill, we only get to keep 20.5% of that. With that small little slice, it's really imperative that we do everything within our means to make sure that we stay fiscally responsible and as tight as possible. With that little small slice of the pie, we're running all of our borough operations. Everything from salaries to turning on the lights, to gas in the cars, to paving the roads, wastewater treatment plants, everything. So if you were to take that 20% and slice it up even further, you would see that our largest expense goes to public safety, and rightfully so. So about 20% of the 20% is for public safety. The next biggest piece is about 15% that goes towards statutory expenses. And those are areas like the employee pensions, and the medical premiums. So those are expenses that we can't control, that are kind of pushed to us from the state, so we have no say. So some of our biggest expenses really are not even within our control. We also have garbage and recycling. Believe it or not, that's about 7% of our budget. And, you know, I could go on and break it down even further, but one of the things to keep in mind is that in 2022, for instance, we were in a 8.5% inflationary environment. We all felt that pinch. We all were in the grocery stores, and we were all putting gas in our cars. Everything was up last year. Despite that, we were able to keep our tax increase to 1.7%. That equates to about $73 on an average household. So, you know, how did we do that? We did that by really looking at all of the expenses and applying for every grant that we could possibly get. On the revenue side, 60% of our revenues come from taxes, from people, from our residents paying taxes. The remaining 40% comes from grants, and then we have some other fees coming in. So we have like hotel fees, the liquor licenses, parking permits, those type of fees. The grants makes up a nice chunk of our revenues. Last year, we received about $1.1 million in grants. Those grants are coming from federal, from state, and from county. Almost every project that we work on in the borough is touched by a grant. The roads being paved, wastewater treatment plant grants, recreational grants, Safe Routes to School has really given us quite a bit of money in grants, and we've been able to put sidewalks all over town, and the safety beacons for crossing and all of that. So we're really fortunate that we've been able to get so much in grants and be able to alleviate some of those pressures on the taxpayer. Another thing that we do is we do have a reserve, okay? So I'm sure that all of you in your own homes have emergency funds, right? So in case your hot water tank blows up or your car engine goes, you have funds available to cover those emergencies. We have the same thing, so they're reserve expenses. We could, you know, dip into those reserves, and when you're saying, oh no, we're not gonna raise taxes, but then the following year, God forbid, there's an emergency, your taxes then will go up. So instead of seeing these yo-yos in your tax payments, we try to have a nice, steady, predictable, low increase every year so that we are able to operate our borough, but also have this reserve on the side so that we can cover emergencies. Some of those emergencies are like Hurricane Ida, that kind of decimated the town, right? When we have large snowfalls, we have to have extra snow plowing. When, you know, something happens and, you know, boiler blows up at the library, like we just saw. So there's a lot of that we see. So we have reserves to cover those kind of expenses. And that's why we're not seeing decreases. It's hard enough to like keep the rate of increase low so that we can maintain a nice, steady, forward-moving projection.
Okay.
Very good, good topic. Very briefly, I'm going to close up on our topics and then we will get to your questions. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about communications in our borough. And basically, I guess there was some concern about the borough website a couple of years ago, but we'll let everybody know, well, you've heard it by now, July, we had our new borough website. So we have many ways of communicating with our residents, and our borough website is really the main way. Our residents are our #1 asset, so we always want to make sure that you guys have a way to connect with us. And if you ever have any questions, the borough website is the place to go. So once something gets posted to the borough website, it then gets shared over to our borough Facebook page. Our borough Facebook page is the official news and business of the borough, so that is the place to go. We also have a bi-weekly newsletter that comes out to residents on email, where you can find out all the activities in the departments, what the different committees are doing, etc. And then quarterly, which I didn't bring today, is the newsletter that gets mailed home. and that tells you everything that's going on in that season. In addition to that, we have our council meetings. So people cannot come to the council meeting. You can watch it on YouTube live, or a couple days later, it's on video. We also have the electronic bulletin board downtown that people can look at. We have the Smart 911 system, which is excellent for emergencies, but it's also useful if you want information about community events. So Borough Council is always accessible. We are always around. We don't have any personal agendas. We're here to work for you as residents. We are at every council meeting, of course. We are at just about every single town event, which happens almost every weekend.
Every weekend.
Every weekend.
And during the week.
We are open to all residents, and like I like telling everybody, we're only an email or a phone call away. So we are accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All you need to do is reach out, and we're here to help you. So with that said, I believe we are ready for the question portion of our evening.
Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to submit? Mark will grab them from you, right, Mark?
Any others?
Thank you.
Thank you.
This without killing myself. Okay. Good. All right. All right. So I'll start with the first one that was submitted before we started. Do you believe that the governing body has been resistant to new ideas, reluctant to engage with different views, and has a level of comfort with the status quo that is holding the community back?
Want me to start with that?
You can start.
Okay.
Jump in.
So like I was just saying about communication, we look to our residents a lot for communication. If there's a problem, if there's an issue, if there's an idea, we always encourage everybody to come to us and talk to us. We have numerous examples of this. Most recently, we had, within the last year, I'll start with the cricket team. There was a desire to have cricket in New Providence, and we never had cricket. We had people come to us. They worked with our Community Activity Advisory Committee, and we now have cricket in New Providence. We have a cricket pitch up on Warner Field, which was amazing. The other thing that's taking off in town is pickleball. So we have pickleball lessons at the Recreation Department, but there was nowhere for people to play. So they came to us, and they wanted to have pickleball. We had a capital plan for it, but people wanted it sooner. So we were able to come up with an idea to take one of our tennis courts and put the lines on it. The other concern there was then the tennis community was worried they were going to lose tennis courts. So the taking of court 8 and putting pickleball lines, dual lining it after a very lengthy discussion was something that was great. Another area that was useful, and this was a couple of years ago, and more so from the public safety side, so there's also a serious topic to this as well, when parents were concerned about their students in school. We had a safety meeting, and parents overwhelmingly requested school resource officers be put into the schools to protect the children. At that point, Borough Council worked with the Board of Education, and we insisted that we put school resource officers in. That is a shared service, and we pay for half of their salaries, and that way we ensure that our students are safe.
So one of the things that I wanted to add about that too, when we're talking about resistance to new ideas, is the fact that, first of all, our committees, so our borough committees are made up of borough volunteers. And they're the ones that are speaking up and telling us, what they want to see in some of these areas, like our diversity committee, our sustainability committee, mental health and advocacy committee, our municipal alliance. So those are all borough volunteers. So they are bringing us their ideas of what they want. So we're not resistant to their ideas, they're bringing them to us, and then we're taking action on them. Another thing to be aware of is that we are pretty much a new council. Nadine has been on council for 6 years. She is our senior council person. Everyone else has been on council, a couple years. So we're not set in stone. We all are new. We've all brought our own ideas. We're all very individual. We all have different thoughts. And so that we are able to contribute in different ways, maybe that not so set in stone, like I was saying. Also, our borough is run by pretty much new positions. So our chief of police, Stan Henn, is new to his position. Our borough administrator is fairly new. Our CFO, Jim Testa, just started this year. So they're also bringing new ideas, new ways of doing business, new thoughts. They're talking to the public and bringing those ideas into the borough.
I think it's also noteworthy that a lot of things that come our way are handled by the state and by the federal government. There's very little we can do on a lot of these issues. And a lot of issues that come up that are handled by the state and the federal government. We just can't arbitrarily make ordinances in the borough when it conflicts with judicial opinions and state mandates. I mean, you'll be tied up in lawsuits, and quite frankly, we don't have the money to go through extensive lawsuits. It's quite expensive. The other thing is, you look at the other towns, they don't have these type of ordinances. And because the same reason, these things are handled by the state and the federal government. So I think sometimes we personally feel a certain way, but we're constricted and we take our personal feelings out and we abide by the law. And that's a responsibility that we have to the public.
Ready for the next question?
Yes.
Okay. In recent years, we've seen an unprecedented number of catastrophic weather events, including wildfires, droughts, extreme heat, hurricanes, and flooding, including the flooding that we experienced in Ida in 2021. Please tell us what you have done or what you're planning to do to help New Providence play its part in reducing our fossil fuels and mitigating flooding and proactive stormwater management. Was that clear enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can be honest with everybody, is that when you get 8 inches of rain in the course of 2 to 3 hours, there's no kind of mitigation at all that's going to stop the flooding. None. I mean, we had actually 15 life saves during Ida. We got hit very badly, and you know what? Other towns got hit a lot worse than we did. We talked about financing. We need that reserves, because we have to pay all these engineering costs, everything up front. We don't get FEMA money until about 2 or 3 years down the line. So it's very important that we have reserves to take care of this. Now, Congressman Malinowski, when he was in office, got Long Hill, Berkeley Heights, New Providence, and Summit together to look at desnagging the Passaic River and doing some flooding remediation. And we expressly said we need erosion measures on the Salt Brook here. I've been in contact with Congressman Kane, and he's taken up that mantle. It's a good program. The Army Corps of Engineers have been out here with DEP, and I was told by the Army Corps of Engineers that they're the only agency in the entire nation that can override DEP regulations, something that I never knew. And the man that we talked to, said this is a worthwhile project, especially when it affects 4 different communities. So we're looking at that. I know the county bought a desnagging machine. It's on a raft and it has a crane. It's very, very expensive to pull logs and trees out of rivers and streams. We do a little bit each year that we can afford, but hopefully the county's going to be able to come in and do a lot more. But they have the Rahway River, they have all these different tributaries that they have to take care of. So hopefully we're on the top side of the list.
Yeah, sure. So, besides, you know, the higher level sustainability works, a little bit closer to our borough here, we do have a focused sustainability committee in place that's been around since 2012, and they have done quite a bit of work in promoting green initiatives and getting everyone excited about, you know, doing your part in making our community green. So some of the things that have happened locally in the borough is LED lights. We do have those everywhere at all the intersections and the street lights. We have, every year we plant trees. We do get grants that allow us to purchase and plant trees throughout town every year. The Safe Routes to School that I was talking about before, which is a grant that we receive from the federal government, allows us to put in sidewalks, so hopefully kids can walk to school and not have, you know, every single parent have to drop them off to school. We have the Green Fair and the Free Cycle, where we encourage folks to come learn about different initiatives that are being put out, as well as not filling up our landfills with their stuff, and maybe we can share some of that. One thing to keep in mind too is that New Providence has a bronze rating when it comes to sustainability. And there's really only two ratings, there's silver and there's bronze. So we are one of the only communities around that does have that bronze rating. So it's something to be proud of, and it tells us that we're working hard to really make New Providence green. Also charging stations, so that's in the works. So, you know, things take a while. You gotta plan it out, and it takes a bit of time. It's not, municipal government is not like working for a corporation where you can kind of, you know, it does take a little bit of time. But we do have a location identified, and we're working on some grants to get those, that charging station in.
That was actually what I was going to say. Councilman Kogan is currently working with some facilities, with some businesses on bringing charging stations in. This is not something that can happen, you know, right away, overnight. We're looking for grants for that. We're looking at the locations that make the most sense. We would be looking at, you know, bringing on different vehicles in the borough, but at this time, you know, there's a lot of issues around supply chain. We were talking with Chief Henn, and basically, you can't get regular police cars in 2024, and not to mention energy efficient, or rather electric cars that are not available. One other thing that we are currently doing in our other, anytime we have something that needs to be replaced in the buildings, we are getting more energy efficient supplies and machines in our buildings. So we are doing our part. It's taking a little bit longer than when we had anticipated, but we'll be getting those charging stations and looking to certify our buildings as energy efficient and moving forward from there.
I think with the police cars, not only couldn't we get the electric vehicles, we even looked into the hybrids.
Yeah.
And they're not available for as police vehicles. So Andrew Diamond did extensive research on it, and it's something we can look to in the future, but at this time, it's just not feasible.
And cost prohibitive as well.
Very.
Ready for the next question?
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Okay, what are 3 priorities for your next term? 3 priorities for your next term.
You wanna start? Yeah, I'll start. A lot of the priorities that I have are priorities that we focus on regularly. So number one, of course, is going to be public safety. We do have new construction coming into town. We do have new residents coming into town, so we need to keep them safe. Our roads are traveled extensively by people just passing through the town, by people traveling down to 78. So they are really, that's our number one priority, is always pedestrian and traffic safety. There's a couple of things that we are doing. You have to keep in mind South Street, Mountain Avenue, and Springfield Avenue are county roads. So we're working with that. And again, keeping residents safe. And every year in our capital budget, we look at the new and latest technology. to make sure that, again, our residents are safe, and we plan for that and we build that over time. So that would really be the number one thing. Number two, I guess, would be working with the budget for capital planning. As I mentioned before, I'm on the capital review committee. One thing that we do, which is an amazing tribute to our business administrator, is we came up with a 5-year master plan related to our capital. We look at things ahead. We are very proactive. We don't just wait until things break down to fix them. We try to get ahead of it. We try to budget and plan for that. So I'd like to work with that committee further to make sure that that is going in the same direction as well.
So when I think about priorities for the town, what comes to mind is really doing what our residents want and listening to them, because that's our job. Our job as council members is to go out and listen to our residents and respond and, you know, put that into action. So, you know, Nadine gave some examples before. Some of our residents come to our borough council meetings. They've made comments or suggestions or requests about traffic calming, right, on, like, for instance, on Central Avenue. That was a couple of residents that came to, and so that happens. Listening to recreational requests for pickleball and the cricket pitch. So that, to me, is the number one priority. It's not so much, you know, checking things off of a box, but more listening to our residents and understanding their needs and how we can fulfill those needs if possible. And then second would be, so these are two things that came right from residents. So that, and also the finances, right? We want to make sure that our borough stays financially sound. I think that that is one of the most important things. We really need to have New Providence run efficiently, effectively, with a tight budget. We know where every dollar is going, where every dollar is coming from, and to have those adequate reserves, because as Al said, we just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Anything could happen, but we need to be prepared for it and not run into a situation where we are running deficits, or we have to take pilots to cover, you know, expenses, or where we have to borrow additional dollars that we weren't planning to do. So.
I think public safety, well, since I'm the chairman, is my major focus. Some of the things that I know during Hurricane Ida, people always said to me, why do you have that big truck? If we didn't have that big truck, 4 people would have died that night. We got that truck for nothing from the federal government. We're looking to get a Hummer from the federal government, from the Army, because we found that the big truck's nice, but it's easier when you have a Hummer. It's easier to get around tight spaces and things like that. So, but the other major thing that I get focused on is infrastructure. This town was primarily built in the 50s and 60s. The quality of materials that they used back then, clay pipes, things like that, they're falling apart. You can see through town, you see trucks, National Sewer, they're going all over town. It's a process called in situ form. And what they do is that they line the pipes, they put a balloon in there, and they shoot plastic in there to line the inside of the pipes to stop the inflow of water leaking into the pipes, into the sewer system, therefore saving us during big rain events, having to treat the water and dumping it in the river. A lot, you see the gas company going around, the water company going around, they end up putting new pipes everywhere. I mean, you know, the things that went on in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, the electrical grid has to be upgraded. We're working with JCP&L, but like Nadine and Lisa said, you know, it all takes time. And these companies only have X amount of dollars to do this work. And, you know, we're working very hard with them to get things done, streets repaved, and enhance our quality of life here.
Okay. Next question. Don't you think we would receive more funding from Union County if we had Democrats on the council?
I'll answer that.
Okay.
I was just down here. I went down there with Mr. Andres, who's the library board president, and we got a grant for $32,000. We got the most money than any other municipality in the county. In fact, I'm not ashamed to say it, I'm very good friends with a lot of the commissioners down there, and I think, Mark, you even saw it. You know, I don't ask for much from the county, but every time that I've gotten the project taken care of, and they've given me more than what I asked for. For instance, the bridge going across Saltbrook on South Street. You know, they could have just put up that temporary bridge and built a new one, taken a temporary out. Not only did they take that bridge out, they landscaped everything. They actually put in paver bricks for us at their expense. And they sold us the excess, so we had extra bricks to do more in our downtown. When I first became mayor, we had flooding problems down here. You know what? You know the hump going underneath the railroad bridge on South Street? Well, there was a drainage pipe went down, cut down westerly, and went into the brook. And it would always flood. I said, this is really kind of insane. Why don't you just run the pipe straight down South Street and put it into the brook? You say, you know, that's a good idea. And they said, well, it's going to be $40,000. You know what? We'll eat the expense. We're paving the road anyway. Well, the hump is there because there's a granite shelf. So they actually spent $120,000, and they ate the whole expense. But that's because you have good communication with them. You have, you know them personally, and you work with them. In fact, anytime they come to New Providence to do road work, they said, we're one of the easiest towns to work with, and they appreciate it. So we have a great relationship with the county.
I was going to add that besides financial resources from the county, we also get other types of resources. We do partner with them for our mental health advocacy and education committee. So Union County has a really extensive mental health department, and they are very willing. They have a lot of tools, so to speak. So they're very willing to share all their resources with us, so we don't have to recreate that wheel. So a lot of the things that we post on the borough page relating to mental health, a lot of the ideas, a lot of the tools basically do come from Union County. Another area would be our municipal alliance. Okay, we get, not only do we get the grant from them, but we do partner with the county for programming and different events. So again, it's not just financial, it's also other types of resources that we do lean on them. And our new dispatch is going to be in Union.
Dispatch is in the
Right.
county. I actually find that question very interesting because I find it to be an insult to our commissioners. Our commissioners work with us as partners. They don't work with us or not work with us because of a letter after our name. They're here to work with us because they want what's best for Union County. And a good New Providence is a good Union County. So I find them to be, partners and helpful in everything that we do. So I don't find that question to be very accurate as what a good commissioner would do. And our commissioners work with us.
You know, the other thing, and it's unseen, but it's very important, is that Union County Rescue Squad, right? They're all over the county, but when they get calls up here, and they're in between calls, they have the codes to use our rescue squad. And they feel right at home, and You know, these are things that you do that nobody sees. But, you know, it's a benefit to the community and to the county. So we have a great working relationship with them, and we meet with the county manager and usually a couple commissioners every year.
Yeah, we talk about new shared services, everything that's going on around the county, so we meet with them very frequently. I don't know if we mentioned the gazebo, our new gazebo down
Gazebo
on
Veterans Park.
in Veterans Park, that's brand new, that was fully the commissioners as well. And they came up here, we had, you know, a great meeting with them for that as well,
Yep.
so,
Ready for the next one?
yes, please.
All right. Many surrounding towns have been building/zoning for high-density housing, 4,400 units within a 1 mile radius of New Providence. Why do you believe New Providence has been able to stay ahead of this fiscal requirement and not require large housing projects to be added to the budget or put in the budget?
Because I was there.
We'll chime
You can
in.
start.
Yeah. We worked 4 years, four hard years on our plan. High-density housing is state mandated. The judges look at your plan to see if it's all right. Yeah, the surrounding towns, they have a lot of units. They do. We consistently, over the years, when it was required and everybody shipped their units off the regional contribution, we never did. We put our share right along over the years since the 60s. All right? Now, we were assigned a number. We had to come up with a plan. There was 2 ways to handle it. You could overlay the whole community. Decided not to do that. You would impact neighborhoods all throughout the community. So decided to put it within the industrial zone here. CR Bard, they moved, and a developer came in, and they were approved for 192 units. 32 are going to be affordables. Okay? The other BOC building up at 100 Mountain is zoned for a over 55 adult community, gated adult community, and we haven't gotten plans for that yet. The same builder that's doing the bar property bought that 100 Mountain property, but there'll be some affordable units in there. So, you know, we don't control the developers when they build or when they develop. You know, the interest rates are high and the materials are very, very high. So it's in their ball court, but we've done everything that we have to do statutorily. I think what we're really scared of is that you have to renew in 2025. And we've asked planners, I've asked state politicians, nobody's heard a word. And so I don't know where that's gonna come, and I'll leave it to you two.
So you know, when I think about the affordable housing, I think about, you know, just talking to the prior council members, and I think that they're the ones that we really have to thank, Al and Mike and Rob and all of them for really putting together a solid plan of how we can fulfill this requirement. It's not something that we chose, it's something that is mandated. So every town around us has to do it, but they really came up with an amazing plan that it's not going to affect us in our residences, in our neighborhoods, right? So they were able to rezone some areas, like Al was saying, so the areas where CR Bard is and behind that, so that those are the areas that have been rezoned for affordable housing. And that was done with a lot of thought, right? So near the train station, walkable to downtown, walkable to schools, and the fair share housing, they said that was one of the best plans they ever saw. So not only were we able to manage it, keep the number of units that we were required to build low, but also come up with a very thoughtful plan that if I say it's not gonna affect people, I'd be lying because it probably might, but at least we were able to manage that situation and that scenario.
And it's very scary coming up on 2025. Like the mayor said, we don't know what that's going to look like. So we are reaching out to our state legislators to try to have them work with the government to try to put that back into the place of the legislators and out of the hands of the courts where it belongs. Unfortunately, they're meeting a lot of resistance with that, but it's something that they keep pushing for. It comes down to coming up with common sense laws, common sense ways of giving fair share more so on a regional basis and not pushing it on towns without regard to their logistical situation. School-aged children, wastewater treatment, infrastructure, public safety. Our public safety right now is, of course, our police are higher, but our fire and our EMS are all volunteer. If we don't take control of this situation, we may need to go over to a pay fire and EMS, which will blow our budget out of the water. So we have, again, always looking proactively ahead, trying to come up with plans, and we'll be entering 2025 doing a lot of research and hoping for the best.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. In order to plan for the future, we need to focus on what? In order to plan for the future, we need to focus on what?
I think what we just spoke about. That's gonna be that's gonna have a big impact. When, like Al said, haven't seen any buildings start, but it's coming. We know it's coming, and when that happens, what's gonna happen to our infrastructure? We have ideas. We've had demographers give us ideas of what would happen with school-aged children and how that might affect our schools. But until you're there, you don't know. What is it gonna do to our traffic? What is it gonna do to our EMS and fire and all of that? So that is really something that we need to really stay on top of, focus, study, and make sure that we're and that we also work with professionals there. I'm a finance person, so I'm not an engineer, but I know who our professionals are, and we rely on them for sound information and for good information. So we'll be working together to really make sure that the borough is not impacted negatively with all of this.
I would say we need to focus on our residents. And of course, like Lisa just said, how they're going to be impacted by that, but also their quality of life and day-to-day that they have now. We need to make sure that the residents have all the resources that they need, that they have the structure that they need, that they have, our solid roads, our solid sidewalks. Going back to what I was saying about being proactive, we look at our roads every year. We have a plan in place on what roads need to get fixed and paved every year. And we look at the roads in most need, and we prioritize them that way. Sidewalks, we want a walkable town. We want to make sure all of our sidewalks are sound and our children can walk to school, walk to downtown. We do the same thing there. We prioritize what needs to be fixed, what needs to be done, and we do that for our residents. So, and then there are other needs as well. We talked about recreation needs, we talked about safety needs. So I would say we need to work with our residents and plan for them. They are our future, they're our biggest asset.
I think we're doing it right now. As I said, you see the sewer trucks going around putting in citriform in. We got to lower our inflow and infiltration goes down to the sewer plant. There's only so much capacity that facility is going to take. So by us doing that, we're increasing our or decreasing our water volume down there. One thing that we divided the borough in quadrants for safety reasons. One of the main concerns is Spring Street in Central, because you have bars coming out there, and we're trying to figure out if we have to check out the demographics and everything. We may have to take the beacons out and put in a traffic light. But we know these things, and we have to see how this is going to work out. We may have to change traffic flows, but the police department's on it. So You know, we're talking, right now, they haven't even started building yet. So they're talking a good 2 years out before we really see anything. So we're on it right now. There's a lot of things that we're doing that you don't see, but we're on it.
Okay, ready? I've read your pieces on economic development. What is the Borough Council and Mayor doing now to spur our borough's economy?
I guess I could start with that. Yeah. So when we look at economic development, we reached out to our building supervisor, so Keith Lynch, and we asked him, you know, he has his pulse on what's going on with the new businesses coming in town. He said people are calling, trying to get into business here, trying to find a spot for the businesses here. Businesses are full. If you see something that looks like it's vacant right now, it's in between tenants. Businesses are full. We are doing very well. And for that, just like we thanked prior councils about affordable housing, we have to thank our prior councils again for all their planning that they did in the past. Where we're at now, and economically speaking, didn't happen overnight and it didn't happen by accident. It happened through a lot of careful thought and planning by our prior mayor and councils. Back in 2008, when everybody was going through the recession, our council worked very hard to make sure that businesses were able to come back into town. They rezoned where necessary. They worked with companies where necessary to ensure that New Providence was able to spring back. Two examples off the top of my head that were more recent than that was the Berkeley Aquatics building. We had council members in the audience here tonight who worked with the companies to try to bring them into town. They work with businesses to bring them in. So we were very fortunate with people in the past. What we do now, we have a very vibrant business professional association where we work with the individual business owners on what they need. We are at all their events, we show up for them, and we provide that helping ear that they need. So we're there with them as they need us, and we're here to guide them and help them.
And just to add on that, what we've been talking about all night is financial soundness, public safety. Those are all reasons why businesses want to come into New Providence, right? If you're a business, do you want to go into a town that, you know, is unsafe or is on the brink of, you know, financial, you know, bad, negative stuff? No, if you're a business, you want to go somewhere where the residents are engaged, where they're supporting the local economy, and that's what we do too. So we encourage supporting the local economy. We try to lead by action. You know, we're everywhere. Try to find, you know, it's like, where's Waldo? We're in a different restaurant every night. But, and that's what we do. So we keep the borough safe, we keep it financially sound, we encourage our residents to shop local and to support our businesses. And that's the reason why everybody wants to be here.
And don't forget beautification.
And beautification,
Everything
so.
they did with the,
Centennial Park?
Centennial Park
Yeah.
and the streetscapes.
Yeah. So, oh no, that was the Downtown Improvement District.
I forgot about them, we worked with them as well.
Downtown Improvement District did a lot of work with the streetscaping. They put in the benches, new sidewalks, the light poles that we have downtown. And we worked together with them to do that. So, it's all good.
We're full.
Yeah, we're full.
All right, next question. How will the council address concerns from senior citizens who have lived here a long time and aren't sure if they can afford to live in New Providence as they age and find homes that they can move into that are downsized and accessible?
You want me to take that?
Sure, you can start.
Well, first thing, we are AARP senior certified here. Developers come in. I grew up in a small house on Edgewood Avenue. They were baby boomer houses. You know, most of the people back then, they served in World War II or Korea, and they lived in Summit, Milburn, and the prices were high there. They moved to New Providence, Berkeley Heights, Long Hill. Now you see all those houses being knocked down and developers making $1 million houses. There's really no way to stop that except as long as they meet the requirements for setbacks and things like that. there's no easy answer. I wish I had a magic wand. I mean, I was born and raised here. I want to stay here. Do I need a bigger house as I have now? And mine's not really big? Not really. But I'm going to stay here, and what I pay in a mortgage is a hell of a lot less than what I have to pay for rent around here. So, you know, I'm staying, and I wish we had property or something where you could put senior housing in, more senior housing than what we have. But New Providence is built up, and every time I say that you can't, it's built up, there's no place else to build, somebody finds a little patch to build, and it's unbelievable. But there's really no easy answer to that.
What we're seeing is residents modifying their homes. So it's, you know, like Al said, you can't tell somebody what to do with their personal property. If they want to, you know, knock down the ranch and build, you know, a big giant house with lots of stairs, we can't stop them. But what we're seeing with seniors is they are modifying. They are maybe bringing the bedrooms down to the lower level, putting a full bathroom downstairs, so that if that need be. And what we're seeing is that seniors, although, you know, I think anywhere you go in New Jersey, it's going to be expensive to live. You know, unless you plan to move to, I don't even know where.
Down South Jersey, they have adult communities.
You know, but outside of New Jersey, I don't even know what would be
Right.
cheaper, but it's expensive. It's expensive to live in New Jersey, period. But what we're seeing is that seniors do want to stay. They want to stay by their families, they want to stay by their grandkids, and they find a way to do that, whether it be going to Lantern Hill, whether it be modifying their home. But there's ways of doing it. It's just not easy.
Yeah, I would say, and I feel like I keep coming back to quality of life, but part of being AARP certified was we did have to make sure that there were resources in town here for seniors that would make them want to stay here. We go back to talking about walkable community. We have our DeCorso Center where people can have resources and programs, and we have general outreach. As Lisa mentioned before, our town is full of amazing volunteers, so we do have groups who are actively working with our seniors and keeping them engaged. Our senior citizens are very important residents for us, and again, our residents are our assets. So whatever we can do, whatever programs we can provide, you know, we'll have to do the best that we can for them.
I have seen though, a lot of seniors are asking their kids to come and move in with them, and then they get to stay that way. And they put on little additions and do like a mother-daughter house, things like that. But yeah, it's a problem that's not going to be solved by government.
No,
that's
I mean,
for
we
sure.
have the Baberish Apartments that are in town, that is more lower income houses, and, you know, we're always working on trying to improve those as well. So we're doing, you know, trying to help everybody out.
Okay. What's your favorite part of being a member of the Borough Council?
My favorite part is working with the residents. So I really like working with the citizen advisory committees. I've been on the diversity committee every year since I've been on council, except for 1 year. I shared it with Michelle that year. And I really enjoy working with them. I'm going to also loop in my mental health advocacy and education committee. So the people who work on these committees are so passionate about their cause, so passionate about everything they want to do. Our diversity committee works to educate all of our residents about the different cultures that we have here in town. And seeing where we started back in 2018 compared to where we are at now, our programs get bigger and better every single year. One example of that is the Unity Fair that we have that in June. That is a student-led program where we teach about different cultures. This last year, we ended it with a Holy Celebration, which is a celebration of color. It was just an absolute wonderful thing. So I think working with people on their passions is my favorite thing. Mental Health Committee, I'm going to give them the shout out now. back in May, we had our first Mental Health Awareness Month. To sit with the women on this committee, their passion, their drive, and again, it's everything that we want to do. We want to help our residents in town. So their passion and drive about teaching people about mental health issues. We wanted to discuss the topic to start reducing the stigma. It's something that impacts everybody's lives, every family, and they're passionate at getting that done. And what little I can do to help them out, between getting stores painted with mental health signs, businesses committing to paint nails green, or putting green hair ribbons. That was really when the town came alive, where we can work together with everybody. And one last thing, working with the kids on the LINK program. We have one of the moms here. Working with our students at trying to make our town a better place and make our world a better place. I would have to say that is my favorite part about being on council.
I think my favorite part is the mayor's chief executive, so, you know, I have to make sure things get done. And my favorite part, quite honestly, is seeing projects and plans being completed. It's fulfilling. But I also love going into the schools and talking to the kids. I have more fun doing that. And some of the questions they answer really quite amazing. But I just love being with the kids. And they, you know, you want to try and find a way for them to get them, you know, understand how and why government works and how it benefits them. And I was very happy that they're putting civics back into the curriculum throughout the state, because it's so important, so important.
My turn?
Your turn.
So, the reason why, say the question again?
What's your favorite part?
Oh, what's my favorite? My favorite part of council is making a difference. You know, like I said before, we all are volunteers and we come from, you know, backgrounds of really pitching in and doing what needs to get done to you know, run the teams, run the organizations, run the nonprofits. And council is just like that, right? So we're jumping in, we're rolling up our sleeves, and we're getting to work and initiating some of the requests that clients are putting in. And it's really, like Al said, seeing it to fruition. Having someone, you know, come and speak to us, you know, ask that they would like to see a certain thing, like we're gonna, you know, use this pickleball thing to death, but it's because it just happened, and so it's fresh in the mind. You know, they came to council, they made requests, and I don't think anybody on council plays pickleball, so we were like, what, you know, pickleball. But after seeing how passionate all these residents were about it, you know, it made us happy to be able to do it for them, and that's why we're here. Another reason is the committees, like Nadine was saying. Now, just so you understand, we don't sit on the same committees every year. We rotate. So you're really learning everything about every single committee. We can have our favorites, but it's like, you know, your favorite child, you don't say what that is, right? But we work on every single committee through the course of our time on council. And doing that is really fulfilling. It just, you know, seeing projects to fruition and being able to make a difference and working with our volunteer residents in town on these committees is awesome.
How do normal citizens get on mentioned volunteer committees?
Well, that's very easy. First, they figure out what they are interested in. I'm going to go back to diversity. So for example, if somebody's interested in joining the diversity committee, they go onto the borough website and they fill out the volunteer form. And it, you know, I guess sometimes they reach out to the committee chair if they want to get more information, but they fill out a volunteer form, they go in front at a council meeting and they get approved.
That's,
Good.
I think
That's
that's
pretty
pretty simple
that's
answer.
really the whole
There's
answer.
nothing more to say to
And
it.
then
All right.
that's really all there is.
When Lantern Hill was proposed, it was supposed to help lower our taxes, yet every year the local taxes have gone up. Why?
So,
So Lantern Hill, when we look at the ratables with Lantern Hill, yes, that has gone up. So we have seen an uptick in revenue from Lantern Hill taxes. We've also seen an uptick in the expenses. So with Lantern Hill, we do have a little bit more wear and tear through, the wastewater treatment plants, maybe the roads. So there is more wear and tear on the community. But like I said before, or maybe I didn't mention this. So what I want to say then about Lantern Hill is the business that was there before was paying taxes. So it's not like all of a sudden when Lantern Hill was built, we were flush with extra tax dollars. We had some extra tax dollars, but the companies that were there before were certainly paying a substantial portion of taxes to the borough. With the funds the taxes that we're getting from Lantern Hill, we've been able to minimize the tax increases. So a 1.7% tax increase is not a substantial amount of money. It's $73, like I said, on the average taxpayer bill. So we should thank Lantern Hill for being able to kind of reduce those increases a little bit.
A couple of the other increases you didn't mention, so inflation was
8.7?
8.7%, and our tax increase was 1.7%. Our medical premiums this year, we belong to the state medical insurance program. Our medical premiums by the state of New Jersey went up 23%. And we were able to keep the tax increase at 1.7%. Salaries for our union employees, 2.5%. We were still able to keep it at 1.7%. So those ratables did help us keep that band in a very manageable way.
And solid waste went up $100,000. I mean, people don't think of that, but it's a lot of money. But you're right about Lantern Hill. If we didn't have Lantern Hill, we wouldn't have been able to keep our budget under cap year after year after year. It was good financial planning throughout the years, and that's why we have our AAA bond rating. Is because we don't spend money on wants. We spend money on needs. And if we need something, we're able to afford to get it. And it's not easy to juggle all this stuff. And we've been extremely fortunate over the years to have good financial planners on council. And it makes everybody's job easier. I know during the snowstorms, heavy snowstorms that one year, everybody ran out of money. I think it was 2008, 2009, and had huge snowstorms. Nobody had money to plow the roads. We had money. We had money for salt. Our roads were all clean. And people say, how do you do it? It's good financial planning. You know, you could say, oh, no tax increase this year, but guess what? You're going to pay it down the road. And you're going to get stuck, just like with the state comes out with COVID money, right? We didn't take a dime of that money because you have to pay it back. I said, no, we're not taking a dime of this money, even though we lost a lot of revenue with a hotel tax, parking fees at the train stations. We live within our means, and it paid off. Now towns are struggling to pay back money that they don't have, and we don't have to pay it because we plan, and we only use money for needs, not wants.
Ready? All right. With respect to downtown projects, what types of services, amenities are we lacking, and are we proactively seeking these businesses?
Well, we have the bakery now.
Yeah.
We
I'm
beat
trying to think of
Bobby Flay.
what
That
are we
was always,
lacking?
when, in the past, people always said, we need a bakery back, we need a bakery back.
Yeah.
Well, Thank you, Jill Murphy.
Yeah.
We beat Bobby Flay. What else?
Trying to think of
We have
what,
restaurants, we have salons. We are opening a new urgent care. It used to be a children's urgent care, now it's going to be an adult urgent care. Bank of America is now going to be having, I believe that's Summit Medical Group that's going to be in there. That's full, the salons are full, we have a pet food store.
we have a supermarket, I know people
We have a great
like to
supermarket.
complain about it, but thank God we have it, that's all I gotta say. I'm there every day.
Childcare facilities.
I'm,
Yeah, and the one thing people don't understand is that we can't control who goes in the spaces unless it's something like, I don't know, something, the marijuana. We said no.
Yeah.
We absolutely said
That
no.
we have control.
And, but you really don't have any control over what businesses come. And, you know, we just have to make sure that they follow the rules. So,
All right, so follow along that. What is your position on the master plan? 3-story buildings, the flower shop, question mark, updates, question mark. Do we use the master plan? Question mark. I know you sort of answered that, but I want to try to get everybody's questions in.
yeah. The master plan's a living document. So the planning board can make recommendations to council, and council can accept it or not accept it. The height issue, it was 45 feet. And we said that's way too high. So they brought it down to 38. We're gonna re-examine it at the next year and see if we can, see if the planning board wants to lower it a little more. So,
yeah, so
and we're,
the master plan gets used.
yeah. But we're looking at different design plans, if there was a third floor, that it gets set back. Jeff Grove had some pretty good ideas that I think we can incorporate.
We always try to actively zone to make sure that everything makes sense. So our master plan is meant, going back to the economic development question, our master plan is meant to help us keep the economic development moving forward. So in that manner, that's how we zoned it in that direction, and we're going to keep analyzing it to make sure that it makes sense. If something is zoned a certain way and then it doesn't make sense, we'll change it back. But all that will fall under the master plan, which definitely has helped us in the past and will help us in the future.
Okay. Someone wants to know how much time, of your personal time, it takes to be on borough council, or in the mayor's office for that matter.
I can't even count it.
You should probably ask our families instead.
Yeah, I'm looking over at Alex, my poor grandson, he'll be 6 a month from today. You know, he's with me here at meetings, he's been with me to a couple of different meetings. It takes a good amount of time, you know, and if we're not in a meeting, we are on the phone talking about the meeting, or we're sending emails, or we're doing research to make sure that we're up on our topic. So when our agenda comes out every week, we see, you know, what's on the agenda, we understand it, we learn it, we get ready for it. When we go to our committee meetings, I think every committee meets at least once a month, a couple of them meet twice a month. Each of those are a couple hours. I think I mentioned I was on 9 committees. So a lot of time, but again, all worth it and all great stuff that we really enjoy doing, or we wouldn't be here.
Exactly. It's so, like I said, I have a full-time job. This is like another full-time job, but it's fine. And I do it because I love it. You know, I mean, I'm sure all of council would say the same thing. It is very time-consuming. It does take us away from our families, but we're not complaining, and we do it because we love it.
Okay. What are you most proud of, and equally, what do you wish could have gone better and why?
About that. So as far as proud of, so like we were saying before, Nadine and I were both on the Municipal Alliance, which deals with drug and alcohol awareness and abuse among our middle schoolers and high schoolers. And out of that came a couple different things. So Jim kind of took that in one direction, which is working with our 20-something. So we've seen a high incidence of overdoses and suicides and really terrible, tragic things going on in our community that weren't being addressed through the Municipal Alliance. So Jim, who's one of our residents on, resident volunteers on the Municipal Alliance, took that on, so thank you, Jim. So that's something to be proud of. He's working with an organization in Bernardsville called Communities in Crisis. So like we said, we partner with we don't just keep everything here, we really partner with other organizations in other towns. So that's one thing. And then out of the Municipal Alliance also came our Mental Health Advocacy and Education Committee. We saw a tremendous need for that. It's almost like, the flip side of the coin, like you have drug and alcohol abuse, but on the flip side, there's mental health. So what came first, And it was important to kind of give them both the spotlight that they needed, which is why we started that other committee, and where we've really been able, it's only 1 year old, so we're still kind of chugging along, trying to get it rolling. But I feel that this first year for it has really been good. We focused on mental health committee, September was suicide prevention, and just hopefully making the residents aware, of mental health, to destigmatize it, to educate them, and especially not just the residents, but especially our kids, right? Because that's really where we're seeing this, the effect of this a lot is with our children. And the committee has been phenomenal. The volunteers there work their butts off, like literally. They're everywhere, they're at games, they're doing everything to really push this forward. So that is something really to be proud of, I think.
And it's just coming off of that as well. When somebody comes to a group with that much passion and that much drive, we love to help them and we love to try to get all their programs in. To go to the flip side of that, when you said if there's something we could do better, they have such great ideas that we want to put into play and that we want to build up and bring into fruition, that sometimes, like with regular life, you run out of time and you run out of the ability to do everything that you want to do. So we try to work together. So next year we will do more around Suicide Awareness Month in September. And we will try to, like with the diversity committee, try to bring in other cultures and stuff like that as well. So again, we just probably, you feel good on one side because you're getting a lot accomplished, but you still want them to do better and better, and you want to work with them to try to make that better.
There's always more you could do.
There's always more you can do. And there's only so much time and resources as well.
Okay. You were selected by the Republican Committee to represent the mission and principles of the Republican Party. You received most of your funds from campaigns from Republicans for your campaign from Republican sources. Why don't you represent the mission and principles of the Republican Party by acknowledging party matters?
Well, at this level, we don't have, I'm not sure what kind of party matters we can do. There is no party way of filling a pothole. There's no party way of paving a street or trimming trees or doing wastewater management or putting up flashing beacons, going back to public safety. We're not here to tout any specific party agenda or matter. We're here for the residents of the town. We're here to and do our budgets. We're here to keep our people safe, keep them financially sound, and give them a good quality of life. And personally, I can't find any Republican way to do that.
Yeah. I was going to say, I wouldn't even know where to start with that. What we do on council at a local level, politics doesn't really come into play. And we say it all the time, like it's about our town, and it's not about politics. Like Al said earlier this evening, we have no control over state and federal issues. We can say our opinions, but our opinions don't really pave streets, and they don't plant flowers at Centennial Park and work with our committees. It's not what it's about on a local level. If it was, I probably wouldn't be doing this because I'm not like that, and I don't think that anybody on council really is. Like, we're not touting Republican agendas. That's not what it's about for us.
I think you're right, and I could say all the years that I've served, I don't really know anybody that really had an agenda which they were pushing. You know, we do what we have to do to make New Providence the best place to live, period. It has nothing to do with politics. It's about doing the right thing and using common sense how to get there. That's plain and simple.
Next question. A year ago, there was news of water contamination that affected our town's water coming from BOC or Lantern Hill. What's being done about this?
That was actually a report that they found a trace amount of, I don't even know what it was. But it came when they demolished the 575 building and it was remediated. DEP came down. Whenever we get a report from DEP, they like a discharge, it's usually from an oil tank being taken out of the ground and there's a little bit of spillage. But yeah, DEP's right on it.
Okay. I guess this is sort of, I guess, a two-part question. What is being done to protect our children in the schools? And who pays for those resource officers?
She just said
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
maybe spoke about
So
that.
what's being done to protect our children in the schools? I'll start with over at the high school and the middle school. A lot of people have been talking about the new traffic pattern. Everybody's got to come in through one way. It's High Street and what's the other one called? Those two streets that come
Providence.
around, Providence. And then you come around and there's a drop-off zone in front of the high school. That was done for a couple of reasons. It was done to streamline the traffic, but it was also done for safety. We wanted all the students to have to go in through that front door. Back in the past, kids can go into any which door they wanted to do. That wasn't really the safest option. So now the new plan is everybody comes in through one direction, and then that keeps them safer. Keeps them safer from a vehicular perspective, but then it also keeps them safer from a filtering perspective as well. The schools also do the monthly drills, so the students are versed in drills. God forbid something should happen. And again, our student resource or school resource officer is there to keep the students safe. And as I mentioned before, we pay half. So half is paid by the Board of Education and half is paid out of the borough budget.
They report to Dan,
They report to
and
Dan.
also the principals in the schools. So they work in tandem with both the borough and the school.
When there was a shooting, I guess it was Florida, where they had the big shooting, and people were upset, and rightfully so. So we did a town hall. It was Chief Uselli, myself, Dave Michelli, and Adam Smith. And we listened to everybody. We worked hand in hand with the Board of Education to come up with a plan to put in school resource officers in the schools. And we were the first ones around in the area to do that. And it's worked out tremendously. The kids now, they look at a police officer as a friend. And it does make a difference. It really does. So, like Nadine said, everything changes, the traffic patterns, this and that. It's all about safety.
And we do have to give a hand to the Board of Education. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it is separate. The borough does not, we don't, they're a separate entity, so we have no say of what the Board of Ed does. But they have done a wonderful job these past couple of years of putting in new safety features at the school. Like, for instance, used to be when my kids were there, anybody could just walk in. Now you have to go in the front, there's like an air pocket, is that what it's called, an air pocket, right?
We didn't know if it was
Between
a man trap or
a man trapper between the first door and then the second door, and you have to announce yourself, and so you can't just bust into the schools anymore. So, I mean, that's not us, that was the Board of Ed. They've been doing a fabulous job.
They work very hard to protect our children.
And they do work hand in hand with borough officials, where most times Board of Eds and councils are like this, That doesn't happen here.
Okay. Last question. We've asked all the questions that were submitted tonight. I have one more, and you may have answered this, but as I said, I'd like to make sure all the questions got asked. What can New Providence do to bring in more revenue?
Want to start with that?
What can the Providence do to bring in more revenue? So we look at grants. Like I said before, we look at federal, state, and county grants. We apply for everything that makes sense. So sometimes what we'll do is we'll go over to, our borough clerk and the administration and say, have you looked at this one? Or, there's this particular grant. But it really has to fit. So sometimes it's not as easy as it sounds, right? Like, it sounds really easy to just kind of throw everything up against the wall and see what sticks. But it doesn't work that way. It has to fit certain criteria. And I think that anybody that writes grants kind of knows that. But that being said, we have several ways of looking for grants. We have a system. We have a service that spits grants out to us. Our borough administrator is out talking to our neighboring and county administrators to see what's out there. And like I said, every one of our projects is touched with a grant. So I think we're very fortunate in the amount of money that we're able to bring in. So that is one way that we do it, just keep looking for those grants. We have a host staff that's working on that.
And I would add to that shared services. Shared services does a couple things. So one, does bring in some revenue for us. So when you look at our municipal courts, we started the court in New Providence with Berkeley Heights and Summit, and that is a revenue source for us. We bring in money that way. Our wastewater treatment plant, we work with Berkeley Heights and Summit as well, and we do all the piping is very complex, and where the joint junctures come together, we maintain that for Summit as well. Our police provide services for our utilities companies. We bring in money that way, but that's not a shared service. Shared services also can help us save on expenses. So like the Westfield Board of Health, so we don't have to have our own Board of Health, we have that. Our dispatch center, so we were mentioning before that we are going over to Union County. So one thing that's important to know about shared services, it's important to make sure that you are in the right shared service. Not all the time it's going to work out for you in the long run. We can't just enter into an agreement if it's not going to benefit us. So many years ago, we did start with our own dispatch center, and that worked out well at the time, but then over time we saw prices creep up and expenses creep up. So we reevaluated it, and we entered into another shared service agreement with the county, and we're going to be going over to their dispatch center, and we're going to save a lot of money. So it's not just about revenue, but it's about bringing in revenue on one side, but then also saving money on the other. So we are very fortunate that we have great shared services agreements. We're always looking for them, and we're always analyzing what we have to make sure they still make sense.
I think you covered it all. You can always raise taxes, but we don't want to do that.
Take a couple of moments for closing statements.
So thank you everybody for coming out tonight. It was really, really important for us to, get with as many residents as we can to just let them know where we're coming from, and to thank you for all of the questions. This was really great because, we think we know what's important, but when we hear your questions, we really want to know what matters to you. So we're here to work for you and work with you, and I'm very honored to have had my time on council, and I hope to continue to do so.
Ditto, no, I'm only kidding.
What she said.
What she said. So thank you to everybody tonight. And this was great because our whole purpose is to listen to you and to hear what you have to say, what your concerns are, what your questions are. And, when Nadine and I walk around town talking to folks, now that we're out knocking on some doors, that's our favorite part of campaigning, is knocking on the doors and talking to people. It is very interesting. Like, you meet some really, really, really nice people, and they have important things to say, and they have great comments, suggestions, and we love hearing it. And so this was great tonight, sort of like that. We heard all your questions, your concerns. We kind of gleaned your concerns out of the questions. But thank you for giving us the opportunity to answer them. So we're honored to be able to do that. And like Nadine, I love my borough job, my borough council job, and I just wish to be able to continue working for our residents and try to make everybody happy.
You know, being mayor is a different job than being on council. But you're only as good as the people around you. That not only goes for the employees, but also the council members. These are people that I rely on. I trust them implicitly. They do the right things for the right reasons. They deeply care for this town. There's no agendas. There's just commitment to New Providence. And I always say, I bleed green, gold, and white. Well, they do too. So please go out and vote on column B on November 7th. And I just want to thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
What's that? Oh, and by the way, we do have our Honorable Assemblywoman Michelle Massacudas here, who is a great support and asset to us. It's nice having an Assemblywoman that's been in town for so many years and is always there for us, no matter what. So, thank you.
Thanks, Al. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming.